all, my duty this afternoon is to welcome guests and Kiwanians. And as usual, we'd like to acknowledge our visitors, first of all, before we go into the various Kiwanian clubs who are here with us. So I'm going to ask if we have, first of all, anybody from overseas who are joining the meeting this evening. Can you just open your mic and identify yourself so we can acknowledge your presence? Anywhere outside of Jamaica joining us?
Stephen, this is President Roy from Kiwanis Club of Toronto,
Yes.
Caribbean, and a former member of Kingston.
Yes, indeed.
I bring you warm greetings from Toronto. And we hope that you're going to have an exciting and educational meeting.
Sure.
All this success for this meeting.
Thank you, President Roy. Do you have others with you, or is it?
I think the Secretary Antonia is there. I'm not sure who else is there, but we'll put it in the chat.
Yes, as more coming, because we'd like to recognize all the people who come.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Welcome, Kiwanis Club of Toronto.
Good night, gentlemen. Good night, folks.
Go ahead. Is that Horace? Yes,
Horace,
go ahead.
Horace Bryan, formerly of Kiwanis Club of Ligani. I too am in Toronto.
There you go.
Not affiliated with the club just now, but I saw Stuart put up the invitation, and Chris is a former colleague of mine. I couldn't miss this.
Okay, thank you. Well, it's never too late to rejoin Kiwanis, you know. So I get entry back into the Kiwanis foray.
I hear that consistently.
Horace, we have to get in touch with you.
There you go, President Roy. There's a possible recruit right there.
No worries.
E. Dot in the house. Welcome, all of you. Anybody else from overseas? Let me know those who are here in Jamaica who are guests for this evening, who are non-Kiwanians who may be joining us to hear Dr. Stokes speak, or friends of Kiwanians. Would you like to introduce yourselves? No guests? All right. That assumes that everybody else in here are Kiwanians. So let's start.
Stephen.
Yes, go ahead.
I know sometimes you can't see your screen. I see Adrian Stokes. And the last time that Dr. Stokes was with us, we had Blossom Amelia Nelson, who is the matriarch of the family. So I kind of suspect that Adrian is a guest.
Yes. I'm his little sister.
Okay.
Welcome.
I follow back at him all the time to hear what he's up to.
Boy, is a whole lot of us following back at him all over the place.
Oh boy, I pop right up. Yes.
Well, welcome to you also, Adrian.
Oh, thank you.
Most welcome, most welcome. And before I go into the Kiwanian clubs, I noticed that we do have past President DP Paul joining us from Japan. I'm not sure why DP Paul is so quiet, but welcome, DP Paul.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you.
You're most welcome. Glad to have your presence, as well as LG Desmond is joining us. So we're happy to have those Kiwanian dignitaries part of our audience this evening. But let's go into the Kiwanian clubs who are here joining us. Division 25. Are there any clubs from Division 25? Division 25. Division 24.
From Division 24, DP Stephen.
Yes.
I am DS from the Kiwanis Club of Discovery Bay, along with PL Terry from the same club. We're happy to be joining us. Look forward to the presentation.
Thank you very much. We're glad to have Kiwanis Club of Discovery Bay. I'm not sure why it took you so long to join us, but please come back again. I hope it's not just Dr. Stokes that you're coming here, but there's an open invitation to your club and your members to join us every Tuesday this time.
We have meeting on Tuesdays too, so we are not able to do that.
We understand.
But our meetings are on 2nd and 4th, so on 1st and 3rd, we may be able to join you.
Okay, makes a lot of sense. Glad for your presence.
Thank you.
Good evening, fellow Kiwanians.
Go ahead. Is that President Norris?
Indeed. Happy to be on here for representing the Kiwanis Club of New Falmouth. I have with me DP Denzel's online, hoping to have at least another to join tonight. Looking forward to an informative and entertaining meeting as well.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. That's New Falmouth, Kiwanis Club of New Falmouth. So
Indeed.
welcome you and your delegation also, President Norris. And remember, we'd like to make these meetings very interactive, so please utilize the chat feature on the Zoom platform to ask questions, to send greetings, to give us your feedback as the evening progresses, and also to ask questions of our guest speaker when that time comes around. Still in Division 24.
No, sorry, this is still 25. This is DP
Oh,
Denver.
25.
Yes,
Oh,
and this is
past
DP
25 and
Denver
gone to
from the
24.
Kiwanis Club of Outer Many. I'm also a part of New Falmouth, but I'm speaking for Outer Many now. We are 3 members online, including the President Craig, and I have 3 guests as well, and we're looking forward to a great evening with you.
Okay. The guests are non-Kiwanians, or they're...
Oh, not yet. We may call them prospectives, eh?
I see. Okay. Well, I hope they take this as an example of the Kiwanis movement and the fraternity and the family that we have here. So
That's
welcome,
right.
DP Denzel and your delegation.
Thank you.
All right. I was still in Division 25, so I'm going to just merge it. Is anybody, any other club from Division 25 or 24 joining us this evening?
Good evening, PE Stephen. This is Chairman Crystal Heaven from the Kiwanis Club of Montego Bay. It's always a pleasure to join you all. I'm in a board meeting at the moment, so I know my other members won't be joining until our board meeting is finished.
Okay.
Looking forward to a great meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, as always. Glad for your presence also. So we are in Division 25 and 24. If not, we're going to move to Division 23, clubs from Division 23. We'll start with 23 East. 23 East, any members?
Yes, hi, good evening.
Go ahead.
This is BP Adrian from the Kiwanis Club of 23 East Professional St. Andrew Online. Great being on. Thanks for the invite. Myself and one other member currently, but I'm sure more will join. We have, blasts in the group and so forth. So looking forward to a great meeting.
Thank you. And the name of your club is 23 East Professional. Please repeat for my and everybody else.
23 East Professional St. Andrew Online.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Thank you, DP Adrian, and welcome to you and your delegation. You should. I don't see you very often, your club here, so you're one of those that I encourage him to come back again.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, man.
All right, fine. We're still in 23 East. If nobody else from 23 East, I'm going to go to 23.
Yes, we have 23 East, Kiwanis Club of New Kingston. This is DP Herman. We have, well, I can recognize about 7 of us in all so far, and we are really looking forward to hearing Dr. Stokes' take on the economy.
Yes.
And we wish you all well.
Yes, and I'm sure, thank you very much, DP Herman. New Kingston always supports, and we're glad for your presence. We have almost 67 persons in the meeting now, so please help me as I go along so that I might not catch everybody. So when I identify the various divisions, everybody just please feel free to identify where you're joining us from. So we're still in 23 West. No, I had said 23 East. Anybody from 23 West joining us?
Yes, good evening. 23 West is in the house.
There you go.
The DP Donnell from the Kiwanis Club of Portmore. Presently, we have members and a prospect online, and we're looking forward to hear what your guest speaker have to present to us this evening. Thanks for the invite.
Thank you, DP Donnell. And the rest of the Portmore crew, Portmore Club of Kiwanis, Kiwanis Club of Portmore, who are joining us this evening. We're now moving to 23 Central.
Good night.
Good night.
Hello.
Hello.
Young Professional St. Catherine.
North Kiwanis Club of North St. Catherine. Go ahead.
Sorry, repeat.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I lost you for a second there.
Hello. Young Professionals, St. Catherine.
Ah, Young Professionals, yes. And who is there in your delegation?
I'm not sure yet. I think others will be joining soon, though.
Okay. All right.
Good evening, PE.
Good evening. Good evening.
This is PE Ornette.
Hello.
On behalf of the president and the other members of the Kiwanis Club, Sunshine City, Portmore, I want to say a warm good evening to everyone online. We thank you for the invitation. At present, there are 4 of us online, and we are really looking forward to a very informative meeting. Thanks again.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Well, hello, Stephen.
Hello, who is this now? Hi,
This
President
is
Joan.
President Joan.
Yes, you're on the floor. You have the floor.
From Nation Builders Kingston. Really excited to be here. Greetings to everyone, my fellow Kiwanians. We are 2 in number at the moment. I expect to see some more joining from our group. And we're looking forward to this discussion. I think everybody's looking forward to this discussion tonight.
If I may add, President Joan, that I think all of us are economists in one way or another. Every day that we buy groceries and we have to buy gas or things we have to deal with the bank, we are exposed to various aspects of the economy that we probably don't realize. But I'm sure Dr. Stokes will show us how everything is interconnected, and we're probably not even aware, or we're probably aware but don't recognize the things that we are able to read about the economy.
Yes, I hope to be somewhat of a master after this.
I like that indeed. Okay, welcome again, President Joan, and your delegation. 23 Central, any other clubs? Remember, I can't see everybody who's here.
Indeed. Good evening, PE Stephen, and all my fellow Kiwanians. Good evening. This is DP Yanis from the Kiwanis Club of Stony Hill.
Good evening.
And are you hearing me?
I am. You're breaking up initially, but I'm hearing you now clear, loud and clear. Go ahead.
Okay, great. This is DP Yanis from the Kiwanis Club of Stony Hill. And it's my pleasure, as always, to be visiting with you virtually this evening for such a topical discussion. And I think so far it was only 2 of us online, but I know others are joining soon, whether self-proclaimed economists or not. We all want to hear what Dr. Stokes has to say.
Yes, we do.
So thank you for having us.
You're most welcome. Stony Hill joining us. Any other clubs? I think I saw President Eurydice. Any other clubs? Go ahead, President Eurydice. Floor is yours.
Yes. Sorry. Good evening. I'm President Eurydice from the Kiwanis Club of 23 Central, Surrey Online. And at this time, we have a delegation of about 4 members to include LG Desmond.
Right.
And then we have 1 guest. So in all, we have a delegation of 5, 4 members and a guest.
Okay.
Thank you so much for the invite, and we look forward to this lively discussion. Thank you.
Okay. Always a pleasure, always a pleasure. Other clubs who may be joining us? Want to move along quickly so we can get to our guest speaker. Is there anybody that I missed out? I noticed and want to recognize DLG Gerthelin from Kiwanis Club of New Kingston. Welcome.
Thank you, P. Stephen. Great to join the meeting. I am also looking forward to hearing interesting arguments.
Yes.
Have a great one, and blessings all.
Thank you, and the rest of the members of New Kingston who joined us for our 60th anniversary meeting last week. So
yes, it was great being there. We wouldn't miss it at all. We had to support our parents.
Yes, indeed.
And it was great seeing you as well.
Yes, likewise, likewise.
Okay.
Okay. Any SLPs who are joining us or anybody who I have not recognized so far yet? If not, going once, going twice, I'd like to return the microphone back to our President Newton so we can continue with our program. And thank you and welcome everybody. Enjoy and we're glad that you're joining us here at Kiwanis Club of Kingston again.
P. Stephen, I have a guest.
Ah,
This time.
yeah, couldn't be shy.
She's
Go ahead,
she's
go
from
ahead.
Trinidad, and her name is June. And just want to say welcome, and hope she enjoys what we have to present.
Oh,
So glad you could make it.
Welcome.
Don't have a name.
DP Stewart, you said Jill?
No, I said June.
June. Okay,
Yeah.
welcome, June.
Yeah.
I guess June.
I saw the April.
She may not wanna speak.
All right,
but that's
okay.
all right.
That's fine. Her presence is enough. Thank you, DP Stu. Anybody else? If not, President Newton, back to you.
Thank you. Thank you, P. Stephen.
Hold on, I think one
Yeah, I think Todd was about to say something.
Go ahead, whoever was speaking. I didn't quite identify who it was.
June.
June from Trinidad?
Yeah, she's
from
Trinidad.
Yes, go ahead, June.
Yes, thanks for your welcome.
Your signal seems to be breaking up, June. Not hearing you so clearly.
Anyway, I hope you can hear us well enough.
Yeah.
So your
All
signal
right.
strength is
Welcome, June. I think she was acknowledging or welcome to her, and so we recognize it, even though the signal broke down a little bit there. So yes, President Newton, back to you.
Thank you, P. Stephen. And let me add my welcome to June and all the others who are on this evening. And as you can see, is not just little sis, but it's a whole lot of people following back up Dr. Stokes tonight. We are up to 81 followers. So I know nobody came to hear me talk. So let me move on right now to apologies for absence. DLG Willie, do we have any apologies for absence?
No, I didn't receive any written ones.
Okay, neither
Director Warren may have an alternative.
Okay. Neither did I. So we are going to invite P. Stephen back on for recognition of birthdays and anniversaries.
Okay, President, quickly, my duty in this round is to acknowledge Kiwanians who have birthdays or their significant other, their wives who are celebrating an anniversary. So for this month, that is April 1st to not this month, my apologies. This week, April 1st, or no, April 2nd to April 9th, we have 3 Kiwanians who have special occasions. First of all, you heard DLG Willie mention Warren McDonald, Kiwanian Warren McDonald. He celebrates his birthday on the 5th of April. So happy birthday to Warren when it comes around. And then on the 6th of April, PD Strottrell, Reverend Strottrell Lowe and Alice have their wedding anniversary on the 6th of April. So a special wedding anniversary to them. And Kiwanian Gregory Gibson and his wife Donna have their anniversary on the 9th of April next week. So happy anniversary to Gregory and Donna when that comes around on the 9th of April. Is there anyone else who is joining us this evening that has a birthday this week or an anniversary that they'd like to share?
Well, I spoke with past President Robert from West St. Andrew. And he really wanted to be here, but I think he has a board meeting tonight. But he also took the opportunity to remind me that tomorrow is his birthday. So happy birthday to past President Robert from West St. Andrew when it comes tomorrow.
Indeed. Happy birthday when it comes, TP Robert. If there's nobody else, everybody else have a positive and a productive week next week. And thank you again. Back to you, President Newton.
Thank you, P. Stephen. And we couldn't start off with a better set of people than the ones that are online tonight. So we're going to move quickly now to Kiwanis education with LG Desmond Batchelor.
Thank you, President Newton. Good evening, everyone. Welcome, SLP members. Nice to have you. Responsibilities, obligations of sponsoring clubs to SLP clubs. And SLP clubs are K Kids, Builders Club, Key Club, Circle K, and Action Club. 1, the sponsoring club must appoint a Kiwanis advisor or advisors, depending. Attend SLP meetings and events. Maintain an expense line in the service account. Means you have to include that in your budget to be approved by the board. Meet with the school principal annually. Ensure all dues and fees are paid. Make sure SLP officers, that's the president and the secretaries and treasurer and so on of the SLP clubs, they receive proper training. Schedule an annual meeting with Kiwanis and SLP leadership. Host or participate in joint activities. Invite SLP members to attend Kiwanis meetings so they can learn from us, learn how to conduct meetings. They can fellowship with us and be familiar with parliamentary procedures. Ensure that SLP members are provided training opportunities beyond the club level. And that's it for Kiwanis education, President Newton. Thank you.
Thank you, LG.
President Newton.
Yeah.
Yes, PDT Ralston.
Assuming that there are visitors who are not Kiwanians, maybe we should speak to what SLP is.
Okay.
A service leadership program. And service leadership program relates to clubs in schools, K Kids. Those are those up to 7 years old. And over that, up to 12, we have Builders Club. And Key Club, that's primary school and prep school. And Key Club in high schools. Circle K in tertiary institutions, university, MICA, and so on. An Action Club really is for those persons with disabilities. All right, more the adults with disabilities. So that is it for service leadership program clubs. Thank you.
Thanks, LG, and thanks, PDT. Because sometimes we take it for granted that persons understand what we are saying, and we don't realize that with just a little extension, it would be that much more. So thanks for that observation.
And thank you too.
Okay. All right. We are now at.
President
Sorry, go
Newton,
ahead, LG.
Just 1 second. Before you ask who is to do the introduction, let me just advise that we are also streaming live on YouTube. I don't put it on a flyer usually because there's a lot of room on our Zoom channel. But if anybody knows somebody who they can't get on Zoom for whatever reason, you can also link us right now on our YouTube channel, which is KCOK for Kiwanis Club of Kingston. It's just KCOK YouTube channel, and you find it going on. So you go ahead. Back to you, President.
Thank you, DP Stewart. All right. So it's now time for our masterclass. And even though we know Dr. Stokes is good, I don't know if he's that good that he's going to make President Jonah a first-rate economist by the end of this. But I'm pretty sure she will be much more knowledgeable about the economy by the time he's through. So at this time, I'm going to invite DP Earl Spencer to introduce our guest speaker.
Good evening, fellow Kiwanians and guests.
It is my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker, whose name is very interesting because that's what he's going to do to us tonight. He's going to stoke our aspirations, etc. Nelson Christian Stokes, OD, Olympian, PhD. He's the founder and executive chairman of NCS Enterprises. You notice those matches initials also are his initials, a group of companies focusing on financial services, thought leadership, and sports administration. Under the NCS Financial Services Group, he offers fintech-powered alternative banking services to the unbanked and the underbanked, with the goal of financial empowerment, capital formation, and economic mobility. The group, which consists of two money service companies, a loan company and an operating company, is among the leading fintech businesses in the Northern Caribbean. Dr. Stokes is an adjunct consultant with the University of the West Indies, Monash School of Business Professional Services Unit, and does team building, change management, and leadership training for corporations worldwide. He has acted as an economic policy advisor to governments and public sector bodies in the Caribbean and has delivered high-impact keynote speeches to a wide variety of corporate audiences worldwide. A public intellectual, Dr. Stokes writes about and comments on social and economic issues for leading news outlets in the Caribbean. Dr. Stokes was awarded the Order of Distinction Officer Class, OD, Jamaica's sixth highest national honor, by the government of Jamaica for his contribution to the development of sport. He is the chair of World Olympians Association's Awards Commission, chair of the Caribbean Association of National Olympic Committee's Marketing Commission, a member of the International Bobsleigh and Skeleton Federation's Audit Committee. He serves as director of the following Caribbean regional institutions: the G.C. Foster College of Physical Education and Sport, that's the region's leading sports college, Monroe College Board of Governors, and Mount Pleasant Football Academy. So I'm sure he's a Monroe old boy. He is a four-time Olympian as a member of the Jamaica bobsleigh team and has played a key role as both athlete and administrator in establishing Jamaica bobsled as a leading, though unlikely competitor in the sport, with multiple Olympic qualifications and medal placements at international competitions. He is currently chairman and CEO of the Jamaica Bobsled and Skeleton Federation. I hope you tell us what Skeleton Federation is. His book, Cool Runnings and Beyond, the story of the Jamaican bobsled team, is the definitive history of this renowned Jamaica brand. Immediately before starting his own group of companies, Dr. Stokes held the position of General Manager, International Business Division at NCB. Prior to joining NCB, he held the post of Senior Vice President, Business Development at the Victoria Mutual Building Society. He holds a PhD in Economic Development Policy from the University of the West Indies, an MBA in Finance from Washington State University, a BSc Finance from the University of Idaho, and a postgrad diploma in banking from the Stonia Graduate School of Banking. Dr. Stokes is fluent in Spanish and is certified at the advanced level in Spanish by the Instituto Cervantes, Madrid, Spain. Our guest speaker is the epitome of what scholarship and sportsmanship can be. And therefore, many folks, younger than me, of course, can aspire. Please help me welcome Nelson Christian Stokes, OD, Olympian, PhD.
You're still muted, Dr. Stokes.
You know, from the pandemic until now, I go through entire presentations on mute. So thank you for that. Thank you, Earl. I gave explicit instructions to my friend and colleague Stuart Spencer to not get into detail in my bio, and I see he promptly ignored that, which I'm accustomed to.
He didn't tell me anything, and I couldn't ignore anything.
I couldn't think of what he should leave out.
And I couldn't
So I just didn't bother to tell him anything.
No, I thank you very much for the invitation, President Ramdale Newton. Thank you very much. I'm sure your arm was twisted to have me here. Allow me to extend my congrats to for your 60th anniversary. Very well done. Before I go on, you'll allow me to give a shout out to my dear beloved brother, Horace Bryan. You owe me a call. Hopefully you're listening. I believe you left VM as VP of Business Development as well, Horace, I think.
That's correct.
Whatever it was, it was, you know, we did good things at VM that for which we can all be very, very proud. So I'm glad you're on. So you know, it's hard to ask somebody to speak about economics, and it's cruel to ask persons at 7:45 in the evening to listen to economics, because it's not the most exciting topic. All right, but you'll allow me to start with you know, a little example of what you're about to be put through in my talk. So the story goes that this plane crashes and these, you know, 3 persons get stuck on an island, right? They have an economist, a mechanical engineer, and a physicist, and they're all stuck on this island, right? And you know, by some stroke of luck, a can of beans makes its way to shore, you know, and you know, everything else is lost. So they have this one can of beans and they're hungry, right? 3 of them, 1 can of beans. So the question arises, how are we going? We're hungry, we need to eat these beans. How are we going to access these beans that are inside a metal can? The mechanical engineer says, look, that's very easy. All we have to do is leave it out in the sun. It will get hot, expand inside, and it will burst open and we can eat the beans. And they're like, nah, that's going to get sand all over it and it's going to be dirty. And how hot does it have to get? If it gets that hot, we're all going to be dead. So the physicist says, don't worry about it. What we're going to do is apply some leverage, you know, crush down on it with force and burst it open, right? And they said, no, that's going to be the same, you know, result. Is going to be up messy all over the place. You know, we're going to crush up all the beans and they're going to be spilled all over. And then the economist says, let us assume that the can is open and proceed to eat. Now, this is an example of what people call the science of economics is about, which is not really a science, it's a field of endeavor. All right? So with that background, allow me to get into what I hope to not be too heavy a topic, which gets to the main point of what we want to discuss. Now, when the topic is the current state of the Jamaican economy, and it's, you know, it's topical coming up after the major presentations in the budget debates, which have been an integral part both in terms of formulation, presentation, and subsequent discussion. But that is about macroeconomics, right? Which is about the big aggregate things in the economy, like, you know, like we're talking, you know, unemployment, the growth rate, you know, how fast is the economy growing, what's the, you know, the rate of unemployment, what's the inflation rate, so on and so forth. So in addressing the Jamaican economy, I just want to sort of break it down quite simply and to speak about 4 measures that are usually discussed in relation to a macroeconomy, right? And they are the balance of payments, inflation, economic growth, and unemployment. All right? And I'm going to do this for Jamaica, and I'm also going to compare where we are. Oh, the great Dr. Blossom Amelia Nelson just joined. That's my mother, so my sister must have messaged her, so she's going to ask me later why I didn't tell her that I was on, for which I will have no good answer, and therefore remain in the family doghouse. Anyway, so I'm in my finance class at Washington State University, and we're studying ratios, my MBA class, and my professor introduces the topic of ratios by telling us a story of these two friends who met up at a party, right? Hadn't seen each other for a long time, and they met up, and one friend says to the other friend, "How is your wife?" And the other friend replies, "Compared to what?" Now, I run the risk in 2024 of that being misogynistic. It was not in the 80s when I was doing an MBA class, but things change. But the point is that any comparison has to be in relation to something. So just as a benchmark, when I speak about some of these ratios, you'll allow me to just refer to Barbados, all right? So 4, balance of payments, inflation, economic growth, and unemployment. Now, balance of payments, that's the difference between what you import and what you export, all right? So Jamaica runs a deficit, or what we call a current account deficit, meaning to say we import for consumption far more than we export. That's just the nature of the Jamaican economy. And it is not unusual among Caribbean and small nation developing state economies, where you import more of what you consume than you export, right? The challenge with this, of course, is that, if you import $3 and export $1, how do you finance that other $2? Where does the money come from to finance that $2 that you need to import the goods, all right? And that is a challenge for the economy, and I'll touch again on that a little later. The key thing, though, is that we are an import-dependent economy, which has implications for our ability to grow, has implications for our exchange rate. It leaves us exposed to the exchange rate, because since we import so much, if the dollar runs, then everything costs more, and the cost of living goes up. That exchange rate will have a material impact on the inflation rate, call it imported inflation, which as we'll see in a little bit is not good for the economy. The point is we're not going to move to where we are exporting more than we are importing for the foreseeable future. So we have to manage that relationship. Okay, it is what it is. We're running up deficits of somewhere between, right now close to $3 billion US dollars a year. Okay, now Jamaica's balance of payments deficit is 20% of its gross domestic product, GDP. Barbados is, I was about to say only 8.5, but let me just say Barbados is 8.5. All right, and we would like to bridge that gap as an economy, not by importing less, although that's not a bad idea, and we have seen those, but by producing and exporting more. All right, and that is one of the challenges that we face in the economy. Moving on to inflation, that's the killer of societies, of people's dreams. Inflation is high. You work 40 years, you retire, you have a prolonged spike in inflation. Your pension is not worth anything. I saw that literally destroy my grandmother's pension, Miss Sybil, Miss Bloss. Inflation destroyed her pension. So that when the head of the Bank of Jamaica says that inflation is public enemy number one, and that the BOJ's primary mandate is the management of inflation, there's a reason for that. It is key to stability. All right, we don't want to be Argentina that is dips below 200% inflation, and they're getting kudos. They are being celebrated. All right. Now we want a certain amount of inflation, which is important for economic growth, maybe around 3%. But we don't want inflation that robs people, robs retired people, robs poor people, and most importantly, transfers money from folks who don't have money, don't have capital, to folks who already have money. Right? So you find that in periods of high interest rates and high inflation, there's actually a transfer of wealth to people who already have money. So we want to manage that carefully. And the government, successive governments have done very well with that. In March 2014, Jamaica's inflation rate was 8.35%. February 2024, it was 6.3%. It has been as low as 1.7% in December 2016 and as high as 11.8% in April 2022. And you'll remember when that happened, that the BOJ stepped in and started to increase the overnight or the overnight rates from the central bank, or what they pay on deposits from commercial banks. All right, so that is going in the right direction. All right, the range is 4 to 6. It's coming in at 6.3. I'm sure they'll before the Bank of Jamaica reduces rates much more, they'll want to see it consistently in the prescribed range. Now, while they do that, understand that people who need to borrow to invest, people who have mortgages that have been increased, now have a greater problem. All right, so you're trading off. You're causing pain over in one area to essentially reduce the inflation rate, reduce consumption and reduce the inflation rate, which is a challenging thing, but it is important because on the other side, it's a rubber. It's a rubber of wealth and of savings. The inflation in Barbados is just under 6%. And we're, of course, in February actually at 6.2%. So we compare favorably. And I use Barbados because, people have the view that some of these other countries do better than Jamaica. And in some respects, yes. But again, we have to compare to something, all right? And this is just one of those things. The most important thing, really, as an economist, I would say that, economic growth forgives many, many sins, So where are we with that? In 2014, March 2014, our GDP growth rate was 0%. All right. In that 10-year period from then until now, the highest I've seen it is 0.9%. All right. And people don't like to talk about this, but before the pandemic, it actually started going down. It was negative in the third and fourth quarters of 2019. Of course, first quarter 2020, the pandemic hit and it just fell off a quick cliff, went down 15.6% by the end of the second quarter, and has been making its way back. Nevertheless, it's important to note that Jamaica's GDP in US dollars now is about 17.23 billion. In 2014, it was 13.9 billion. All right. So it's slow and painful growth, not enough to address poverty, which we'll get back to in a little bit. But it's not negative or consistently negative, but it's what we would describe as anemic. All right. An important point is that the Barbados gross domestic product per capita, which is a more relevant number than its absolute number because it's a much smaller country and economy. The GDP per capita is 16,700. So each person earns, on average, 16,700 US per annum. In Jamaica, it's 5,300. So we are way below that. All right. Which is interesting because Barbados has had some years of actual negative growth. And a lot of this in Bahamas and Barbados, a lot of the much higher GDP per capita was essentially baked in at the time of independence, which is an interesting thing. We have to grow our way out of it. So people say we are a middle income country. We have a long way to go in terms of GDP per capita, but the GDP, the growth in GDP has been showing some life, which is important. All right, we may not be sprinting, but we're off of our knees, or we're not falling backwards. All right. In terms of unemployment, it's very tricky. We hear folks saying that Jamaica's unemployment rate is 4.2%, and my dear friend and fellow Monroonian, Dr. Clark, speaks about it very proudly, as he should. Of course, there's much more to it, but the 4.2% unemployment rate is a major step forward. The truth of the matter is that it has averaged from 1991 to 2023. It averaged about 11.2%. It has been as high as 16.5%. And right now, we're actually in the lowest period of unemployment in Jamaica's history. All right. Also, interestingly, the labor participation rate is the highest that it's ever been at 65.6%, which means to say the percentage of people who are able to work who are actually seeking jobs, all right, who are trying to get a job. So at 65.6%, we're doing, historically, that is high for Jamaica. All right. Barbados' unemployment rate is up just about little below twice Jamaica's at 8.3%. So, on those measures, balance of payments, inflation, economic growth, and unemployment, and let me say two things. We are not doing badly in comparison to other benchmarks in the region, A, and B, in every measure, we are actually getting better and better. All right? No. Nobody told that to the Jamaicans who voted in the local government elections. As I said, I don't know if Barry White made it on the call. A dear friend and mentor and co. He runs, Horace, he actually runs compliance in our group of companies. And I said to him, Barry, there was no stability dividend. All right, there was no, so all for what, people are saying, oh, all of this macroeconomic achievement, and everybody is claiming paternity. And Nigel Clark made a speech, which outlined it very well. Julian Robinson did not deny it, but instead tried to claim paternity, and he has a strong case for that because Dr. Peter Phillips set a lot of that on track. But the important thing, for the first time in the history of Jamaica, both parties are in one accord on the importance of macroeconomic stability. So if the discussion has moved to paternity as compared to whether or not we should have it, that is a discussion I'm happy to have. All right, and we need to keep that. Now, what we need to do is to bridge the gap between the macroeconomic stability that we have, and it includes other things I haven't mentioned: exchange rate stability, interest rates coming down, or credit rating has been good and improving. Our debt to GDP has been improving tremendously, which is important to create the elbow room that we talk about to finance more projects. FX reserves are very strong. So on the macroeconomic side, we are doing well. I have a hard time explaining that to the folks in my community. Dr. Stokes, what are you talking about? Gas costs this, rent costs that. Everything I earn, my pay is paying the bus fare for me to go to work, and I go to work so that I can pay the bus fare to go to work. Right? This is the problem that we face in Jamaica at this juncture, right? That there's a disconnect between the legitimately good and improving macroeconomic numbers and the lived experience of the Jamaican. And in a liberal democracy like Jamaica, you will come under political pressure if you're not able to deliver things that improves people's lives. No. Having said that, you go to America, you'll hear folks complaining about how poorly the US economy is doing. Yet still, there are how many hundreds of thousands of people at the border waiting to climb the fence to get asylum in this country with a terrible economy. And I take the time to make that point because this is all relative. All right. And there may be a day, maybe a time that a day comes when we'll be living in a much more prosperous Jamaica and people still be complaining. My point is that we are not there now. All right. And there's a simple test for that. Just walk around and look. All right. The lived experience is still problematic. Now, why is that the case? And to deal with that, you will allow me to refer to a grand uncle of mine, Don Robotham. I hope my mother is on. She can confirm if he's my grand uncle. Don Robotham had an article in the Jamaica Gleaner a couple of Sundays ago, which hit the nail on the head. And let me share some of it. He says the core issue, now remember that we have the macroeconomic numbers look good, but he says the core issue for the Jamaican economy is that we remain a low value added economy, exporting largely raw materials and raw services. Because we are a low-tech economy, we also are a low-wage economy, stuck in the middle income gap for many decades. Now, how do we move out of this low value-added economy to one of greater economic complexity is the real issue. And it has to do with productivity. And he goes on to make the point that productivity, you cannot achieve productivity without investing in education. Now, I pause when I say investing in education because Jamaica spends a lot of money in the education budget, but we still manage to put out vast swaths of our children who are neither literate nor numerate. All right? But Don's point is that we cannot become a more complex economy, move more up the value chain, able to produce higher value goods and services, able to export more, close that balance of payment gap, pay people more, and lift the standard of living of all Jamaicans. That is what needs to happen. All right, productivity doesn't mean that we are cutting the same hand of banana faster. No, it means making banana chips. That's the order of magnitude change in productivity that we are talking about. It doesn't mean planting another half an acre of oranges for sale. It means growing the oranges, making orange juice, expanding it, exporting it, and making it available for the local economy. It doesn't mean carving one more piece of thing, to be sold as art and craft to whoever may walk by. It means making hundreds of them for sale on Amazon or Temu or whatever it is that people use nowadays. All right? So we have to move up the value chain and not these low income things. And this is particularly important within the context of the drivers of economic growth. Now, output can grow by making people themselves more productive. This can be achieved primarily through the acquisition of skills referred to as human capital accumulation. Now, there's capital stock, which we're doing well at, particularly with the road development. That's important to economic growth. But human capital development is important, and this is where we're falling down. So labor productivity is falling down, and it is related to the problems that we have in human capital accumulation. And when we develop the human capital, they go to Cayman and Turks and Caicos and Barbados and the USA and develop those countries. All right? The same Jamaican that we see unproductive, trust me, are quite productive in Cayman. All right? I tell the story often of this young man who used to do some plumbing work for me. And he take the bus and come off a Reddish Road and walk down to my house and do some plumbing work. I went to Canada to visit him, and he drove up in his brand new car to pick me up. I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Sir, I'm a plumber." I hope you understand what I'm saying. He's the same plumber, but he's in a much more complex economy, so that the value of his labor is much higher. Until and unless we move in that direction, will always be what my dear uncle calls a low value added, low wage economy. All right. Now, so Dr. Robotham goes on to speak about this economic complexity, and we have to do this. We have to move up the value chain, and you know, I'll say it here. You know, I was about to say a private saying. I know I'm online and so on, but we have to start thinking about our children and our grandchildren. There are some of us who we will not cross the Jordan. Right? We are not in a position to contribute to that higher level value-added economy that needs to happen, but we have to invest in our progeny. All right? Now, listen to this now. There is a measure of economic complexity. All right? Economic complexity is a way of capturing the level of value-added of an economy. Jamaica, at 79 on the list that Harvard has out, ranks lower than Costa Rica and the Dominican Republic, and has experienced a sharp drop in our economic complexity ranking between 2010 and 2021. Friends, we're going backwards in this regard. So even though between 2010 and now 2021, the macroeconomic numbers have improved materially, our economic complexity has actually declined, which explains why it is that even though these two things can be true, that the macroeconomy can be stable and doing better, but the lived experiences is worse or at best stagnated. And this explains why that is the case, and both are true, right? We're classified in the second to lowest group in terms of global ranking on economic complexity. All right? The core issue for the Jamaican economy is that we remain a low value-added economy, exporting largely raw materials. All right? So, like I said, we'll export the dirt, not the plane. Follow me. We're exporting the dirt, the alum that you're going to get aluminum, the alumina to get aluminium. We're not Boeing does not have a factory here. Coca-Cola does not have a factory here. Not that they make the cans themselves, but their canners do not have a factory here. All right, and this is the issue. We have no shortage of tradespersons, right? Persons who craftspersons and all these kinds of things, but we're not going to move up the value chain. We're not going to have great economic complexity with the way things are set up now. And Dr. Robotham's point, Professor Robotham's point, which I concur with 110%, is that until and unless we address the education issue and combine that with an investment in the capital investment in the factories, the IP, the services that make use of that capital, human capital accumulation, we are going to get to the stage where we'll have a bright and shiny macroeconomic picture and poverty persists. It is quite possible. I mean, we are seeing it right now. Okay? So Stuart asked me to just speak about where the opportunities lie going forward, and you allow me to touch on that. The world is changing, and it is interesting, it's important to note that, for example, no company that made horse-drawn carriages made cars. No company that cut out large chunks of ice on the Great Lakes in the United States and put them on trains to be shipped to cities so folks would have ice. None of those companies made refrigerators. Right? No company that had, as recently, you hear about the Kodak moment, Kodak did not invent or partake meaningfully in the digital photography revolution. Right? And I believe we're at such a time again. We are now moving into, there are a couple of trends we have to pay attention. There's an aging population. Now, by the way, I live to see where Jamaica is not having enough children. Now, I won't get into who is having and who is not having, but our population is set to decrease. China's population is set to halve by the end of the century. Right? We have an advantage because we're going down, but we still have a ton of young people. Africa is well set because they're having a lot of young people. And you will need people, if not to produce, at least to consume. All right? Aging population, the role of artificial intelligence, right? Large language models is changing a lot. It is now replacing, for example, research assistants. I have friends who are professors, and instead of having a room of 2 or 3 graduate students as research assistants, they'll go to a site, for example, a site called Consensus, that will do that background research for them. It won't write the paper for them, but it will do the background research for them. Right? This presents an opportunity for Jamaica to leapfrog those stages of development and actually get increased productivity from those technological advancements. We run the risk of leaving people behind, and that is something that we have to address. Cybersecurity becomes more important. The pivot to a green world becomes more important, all right? Do we have people who can install solar panels, who can repair wind turbines? This is where the world is going. All right, we need to get ahead of it. So what are the growing areas for employment in the green economy? Data scientists, software app developers, statisticians, because we have less paper, but we have more and more data. We need people to be able to mine that data. Cybersecurity, so that they don't thief the money out of your bank account at wherever. Content development for social media influencing. A friend of mine, head of JMMB, was sharing with me some time ago that a lot of the better mortgage candidates that he looks at are folks who are social media influencers. They have a YouTube channel. Right now, my grandmother tell me to go to school and study and get a job. Right? We have to examine those assumptions, re-examine those assumptions, or at least expand what the implications of those are. AI writing, asking AI the right question, because it's not it is not yet conscious, right? It is still querying data, so you have to ask the right questions. And actuaries, because people are getting old, we have to figure out how to manage that. And the last part on this, so we're not too far from, yes, it's a lower level in terms of productivity, but there are good jobs, nurse practitioners and physician assistants. All right? So let me summarize here. The Jamaican, if you ask me how the Jamaican macroeconomic numbers are, I would say very good. If you ask me how the Jamaican economy is in relation to the lived experience of the Jamaican, I would say that we have a far, far way to go, and it is unsatisfactory, right? And I've explained to you why there's that divergence. All right. Yes, we have this, but until and unless we become a much more productive economy by increasing the complexity of the economy, moving from low wage to the higher wage economy by producing more value-added products and services, I'm afraid that the lived experience of the ordinary Jamaican is going to remain dire. All right, so let me stop there. Thank you very much for listening. I hope everyone is still there, and I have brought a touch of the good news and also the real experience that all of us have walking around in Jamaica. All right, so let's just confront it and speak about it clearly. Chairman, I'd like to pause here and invite any questions.
Okay. Chris, thank you very much for that. I like the way in which you have kind of set the stage for us to how do we assess how we're doing. So thank you for that. But I have a couple of questions that I want to kick it off with, and this is open time, but I will start.
Chairman Stuart.
Oh yeah, go ahead, President.
Just before you get into that, I just want to take the opportunity, even though I kind of hope she would have been in, so I'd welcomed her before she joined, but I just want to take the opportunity to welcome Dr. Blossom Wambili Nelson to our platform.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. All right, Chris, let me ask you this. Tourism.
Thank you.
Great. Tourism seems to be growing a lot. For example, I read recently where JetBlue says they have 78 flights per week to Jamaica, or I guess in and out in Jamaica, and they are planning to add more flights, and because they consider Jamaica as a top performing destination, and they're skipping over and they're cutting flights in some of the other area destinations where they are not a top performing destination. So let me see this, and there's definitely been growth in that area. Are we getting the real dollar value from tourism? Are we getting a fair share out of the tourism dollar? Or shouldn't it be making more of an impact in the overall economy, or is that all mixed in?
Yeah. So good question. No, you know, I have to say that, you know, I do a lot of work in the region, and I find Mr. Bartlett to be a very thoughtful and competent minister. We stumbled upon tourism. We used to export bananas from Portland, Boston Bay, which took the name to Boston in the US, which took the name of Boston. So we have Boston Bay here, and there's a Kingston Bay in Canada where the products went, and it was coming back empty, so they would bring back tourists, and that's how we got started in the tourism business. It has been good to us, and we have been growing. And you know, my wife always tell me that 1 is bigger than 0. You know, so we welcome that. But you ask an important question. When somebody sends $1 in remittances, which is a whole nother thing, that dollar stays in Jamaica. In the area of tourism, you buy a room, that money may or may not come to Jamaica. Right? In other words, you know, the accounts may be held elsewhere. Right? So you're buying a room and you're staying in Jamaica. So you know, once you get past the construction, which is a huge boost, certainly for employment, and then of course we hear folks talking about bringing in labor. But I think there is room to deepen the impact of tourism on the domestic economy. We have done a lot. We should do more to support the local farmers in terms of what is provided on properties. We should do more in terms of what we are paying Jamaicans who work in our hotels, which are they are the best in the region. You go to any hotel anywhere else in the Caribbean, and the best staff members are Jamaican. I can run that test. All right, run that test. So we need to do more from them. I was pleased to hear the Prime Minister, announce his plans for providing housing for persons in the sector. But you're absolutely right. We need to integrate it more. Get more attractions. We've made a tremendous progress in the last 2 decades in terms of the attractions, but we need to deepen that, get more of the money spent in Jamaica and consuming domestically and employing domestically, so that that growth is actually turned over in the domestic economy. All right, which is very, very important. So I think you're onto something. So I pay tribute to the industry. It has done well. But I do agree that we need to continue to find more ways for that dollar to have a multiplier effect in the domestic economy. And there are things we're leaving on the table now. We're leaving sports tourism on the table. We have a lot more that we can do in ecotourism, health tourism. There's much. I don't want to get into the gambling, but that works for a lot of people. So there's still room to grow. But what we don't want is to have a situation that helped to lead to the Cuban Revolution, which is where people build these big hotels in Cuba, send it to people and just extract all the money. All right, we don't want that. We want the money reinvested here. All right.
Okay, and I'll just show you one more thing, and I don't see any hands up in the chat yet, so please get ready, put your hands up. The other thing I say, when you mentioned the education level, are you talking about the school, secondary level, tertiary, or probably both? Where I mean, in other words, where do you want to see that improvement? Which one are you talking about, or both?
Well, I would like to see where we are putting out from the secondary and tertiary levels, high-level thinkers, philosophers, and scientists, mathematicians, computer experts, designers, and so on. I'd really like to see that. What we need is for somebody at 9 years old to be able to read a sentence or add up 2 numbers. And I'm not being dramatic here. We are not there. Basic literacy is a problem, not to mention numeracy. So yes, I would like those things, and we have to make our way there. But a win to me now is if the children going into high school, 10, 11, 12, every single Jamaican at that age, whether you pick up another book for the rest of their life, is competent in reading, in literacy and numeracy. And I think that's where we need to start focusing.
Okay, the floor is open. Okay, is that Earl? I see a hand up.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Before I touch the education part, I'm just noting that you remarked, well, Stuart did remark about, or was it you, Dr. Stokes? JetBlue coming in, and they think we are the best thing. That's the best catch, I would say. But yet still they're about to increase the luggage rate. I'm sure that's what I heard this morning. JetBlue, they're going to increase that some $35 up to $40 or something like that, and so on. So they see us as an easy catch. Well, you can comment on that if it's necessary. But with the education part now, you have really hit the nail on the head when you mentioned about the ability of children, say 9, to be able to be numerate and literate. But if you don't put the right people in these schools, how are you going to get them? I mean, in the basic schools, people right now sacrifice And as a result of the sacrifice, many of them are not qualified based on Ministry of Education standards. So you have bad people teaching, doing a good thing, but a bad way. How do you resolve that? Because really our problem is from the beginning. If you don't create the base properly, nothing can live.
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
All right. Let me start with JetBlue. I've had reason to have some tangential interaction with the new CEO of JetBlue on another matter. The company is in problems. He has been brought in to save the company. The deal to acquire, I want to say Frontier, not Spirit, Frontier, I believe. You can correct me on that. Went south. The stock price has taken a beating.
Spirit,
Spirit, right. And they're looking at to find a way out. And part of that way out is leveraging the Jamaica relationship, which is very good for them. No, I'm a capitalist. I am not going to berate him for that. Welcome to the jungle is what I would say to that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my response to that is for the next airline is competition. Competition. You know, I get caught up in these conversations about the bank fees and so on and so forth. And I understand the pain and the temptation. But if you join a credit union, you get excellent service for a fraction of the cost. Yet still, all the reports I've seen still complain about the Scotia NCB duopoly. All right. So we have to make choices. So I'm not going to. I understand why they are doing it. It's business. It may sound cold, but Jamaica is what is going to save them. Or it's part of the strategy. But I think people must compete, right? And you want the guy to come and fly on your airline. You, instead of 78, you have 80 flights and give them a bag free. You know, and I think consumers must be willing to. Nobody is forcing anybody to take the plane. You know? Consumers must be willing to switch or to look at options, and the government must be in a position that to create an open marketplace so that we can have the competition to reduce the prices. That's how I think about these things. I don't think there's yet a market failure where any authority has to come in and say, do not raise that price. All right. On the education, now this is important, but here's the play that I know has not been spelled out in great detail by Dr. Clark, but here's the play. We're going to grow the economy, then we're going to reduce the debt, so that creates far more money for the government to spend. That money is going to go, as we have seen in the public sector salary review, more and more of it is going to go towards getting the best and the brightest in the public sector and in the classroom. That has to be the play. There was a time when there was I want to be a teacher, and there was pride in that by itself. All right. I think we need to get to know where Japan is, where Singapore is, where the best jobs, the best paying jobs are in these areas. All right. And I think we need to do that. I have been to high schools and heard teachers teaching English who can't speak English. And this is no surprise to anybody on this call. All right. So the way to go about it is to certainly from a policy perspective, public policy perspective, to pay them well and have better training, and the whole teacher education infrastructure needs investment as well, and that has got to be part of it. And you remember when I said that some of us will not be able to cross Jordan, and this is part of that the process to do it properly is going to take a little time, and this is why macroeconomic stability is important. so that we can get down the debt, so that we can have more money, so that we can pay teachers more, so that we can get better students, and those students can now be high-wage, highly productive persons. Those are dots that we need to connect.
Okay. PDT Ralston, I see your hand is up. Your time.
Yes, thank you. Dr. Chris, very, very interesting presentation. My concerns have been addressed somewhat and is in concurrence with you. But at a time when agriculture still has to be one of our mainstay to the economy, in accordance with some WTO requests, we are going to reduce or remove import duties on agricultural products and expect our local farmers to compete with that, which to me is a fallacy. But you touch on the business of value added. And I think that other country is renowned for the best coffee, the best cocoa, and the best of almost everything. But we have not been added value to these things. And primarily, we are trying to supply 2 or 3 million people when we should be looking at specializing, developing these products and looking at the world as a wider market.
Yeah.
Can you comment?
Yes. I think the case of the removal of duties have been addressed. As I believe Dr. Clark might have written quite a long article over the weekend, if I'm right, about it. I haven't gotten to review that yet. You know, there are those who say, we're in a position to know that, you know, what are you talking about? The WTO is defunct. You know, look, I made it clear that I'm a capitalist, I'm not a communist. But there has to be, as we have seen in the United States, a role for a domestic industrial policy. Right? The Chinese protect the Japanese protect the rice, and everybody has something. The US is vehemently protecting its own farmers. In the mix, there has to be a role for a domestic industrial policy. And we have seen that shift after the COVID-19 and with China doing what it's doing. You see the world moving more towards making sure that it has food security, which is to say that you can feed yourself. All right. And I would like to know that that is well established in Jamaica. And by the way, it's tied back to the current account deficits I spoke about, where we are importing far more than we're exporting. I would like to see that we are set domestically before we start changing the status quo and introducing what could be additional competition in that market. And it's a funny thing, you know. I mean, I move up and down in the US. I'm not a big US person. I prefer to go south and north, but from time to time I have to go north. And believe me when I tell you that the same person going to the Donald Trump rally, don't cry in China, and saying it must be made in the USA, when they go to Walmart, they are buying the products made in China because it's cheaper than the one made in the same person, cheaper than the one made in the US. the same person that just come from the rally,
yeah, is
going to tell you that. But for me personally, I want cheap products. Right? So you're always going to have that. I would want to be very careful in ensuring that our domestic food security is as much as possible is well established. You remember early days of the pandemic when we were wondering if we were going to all be starving here because we didn't have enough food in Jamaica? You all remember that? People forget easily enough to ask these questions. So I don't have all the information, but I would go down that road very, very, very carefully. You know, no, we have some very good examples, including Barron Hall, which a cousin of mine runs, and I hope my mom can help me if I'm saying that wrong. We're going up the value chain, but we need to do more, and you are right. The same way that people from all over the world fly here, we want persons in every corner of the world asking for Jamaican products on the shelves. All right, and we're seeing that growing, by the way. You know, Carib Shopper, a couple of these types of companies that, you know, make it easier to buy Jamaican products online overseas. You know, and I think that's part of developing not our agriculture, but our agribusiness, which is where we need to go.
Okay, President Newton, I see your hand is up.
Thank you, VP Chris. Before I go any further, could I ask for a member of the club to move for an extension of 10 minutes for us to conclude our business?
I so move.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Dr. Stokes.
Yes, sir.
First of all, let me answer. Nobody had to twist my hand to get you on. I mean, we wish we could have you on once per month, but we know that's not possible. But what my question is this: based on where we are right now and where we need to go, do you think that we need to pay more? Well, put more resources in institutions like Hart and Rada, and so right now, we know everybody wants to say they graduated from UWI and all of that, but do we need to get to the technical skills where people can come out hitting the ground running and make a difference as they go along, rather than concentrate on the cerebral sort of thing?
Yeah. So the short answer is yes. A couple of observations. I went to school in the Northwest US, right? And to work in a factory, to build houses, to lay tiles was dignified work. Feed your family, send your children to school, you're respected in the community. All right? Now, if I told my grandmother that I was going to cut her heart, she'd tell me that I'm worthless. We have brought that on ourselves. We have told ourselves stories and believe those stories that we have told ourselves that are handicapping us now. When we have such a high percentage of people taking CXC and taking economics and principles of business at CXC, I mean, God bless them, but you know, not because you know A at 18 mean you're going to know 3 times A at 28. You know, where are the jobs? There's dignity in everything. So we tell ourselves all kind of things. We tell ourselves that you have to drive a car. When I meet with people I meet with CEOs all over the world, a man ride up in his bicycle or come off of the train. We tell ourselves that you have to drive a car. That's what we tell ourselves, right? We tell ourselves that you must go to Monroe and do 4 A levels, and it must be chemistry and biology if you're anybody, and go straight into med school. And that if you want to be to the technical drawing, well, maybe you should go to what I'm calling them technical schools, or do something else. We have told ourselves these stories, and time has proven us to be wrong. Because who are the entrepreneurs? Who are the persons moving and shaking and making a difference in the world? The persons with the types of skills that you can learn at Hart, right? Hart is training people how to do the light shows with 100 Drones. Hart is teaching people cybersecurity. This is where the money is. This is where the future is.
Great.
Right? And I'm not saying that everything is for everybody. What I'm saying is that we need to stop belittling things that we are good at. We do it in sport, by the way. Right? We do it in entertainment. You know, we tell, you know, Bob Marley had to go away before anybody listen to him. Call him Dirty Dread. Right? So this is what we tell ourselves stories, and then we don't see where the world is going, and then we get left behind. All right, and that is part of the issue. Now, having said that, it is important to note that the government has made an honest effort to get people into all kinds of training programs. They start and they don't finish. That must be said. All right, which raises a whole nother set of issues as to the value systems and what we're doing and why we're doing it and so on and so forth. The Prime Minister announced, you know, programs where you'll get a grant to buy machinery. So yes, maybe it's not high value added here, but those are the kinds of, you'll get, you know, bus fare to go to school, which is not a small matter. You'll get a stipend, and you'll get money to buy equipment. You can borrow more money from DBJ afterwards. These are all very good initiatives, but we're not going to build the wall at once. We have to build it brick by brick. All right, and that's the work we have to do.
Thank you.
You say that instant gratification is what is killing us right now. In that it's okay to say Hart is training the people, but when they think they have known all and they are still at the fringe, they take off and they set up.
And they go elsewhere in the Caribbean or the US, and they do very, very well. I mean, they're not wicked, they're not unpatriotic. This is what happens.
Oh, well, you gave a different spin to what I was thinking, though, because I was thinking about, I stick with one plumbing agency, as it were. And when the boss was sick, quite a few of his trainees really messed up. And yet, when you talk to them, as I heard, then they say, well, I gone in, I can't do plumbing now. So it's okay about going away and doing well, but they seem to listen when they travel, but they don't think that our instructions in Jamaica, their bosses, know what I'm saying. Yeah, man.
I have seen that.
Yeah.
I have seen that. I've seen that. You know, I could give you 100 examples of that. I've seen that. I've seen, you know, I don't know if Horace is still on the call, but, you know, Horace, you remember I used to go to the UK with VM and do tours, and I'd be in Brixton, it'd be raining, and there'd be a line of 100 people in it. I'm sure 80 of them are Jamaican, in a single file line in the rain waiting on a bus. And I come to halfway tree the next morning to go back to work, and the same Jamaican climbing over each other to get on the bus.
Yes.
What does that say about how we think about ourselves? You know, and you know, while we're on that topic, there can be no growth and no prosperity without that mental change. How do I see myself? How do my parents see me or see my value? You know, and for every time we teach a student how to calculate the second derivative in a calculus class, we should also be teaching them about civic responsibility and decency, and how you treat your fellow Jamaican, and how you treat your family, right? And what to do with garbage, right? And where to spit and not to spit, right? And there's no way to build a society. A society is not built on economic wealth. It's built on culture and on decency, and that is part of it, right? So there are many fronts that we need to attack. In economics, we talk about the theory of the prairie, where many people have gone on a prairie and catalog every single animal, every single plant, the soil, went somewhere else, got all the animals, got all the plants, got all the soil, put it down, and in a month everything was dead. Because there's a symbiosis and an interrelationship that matures and develops over time. Right? So what my parents taught me are important not only for how I conduct myself, but how I conduct my business, my value for education, what I tell the people that work for me. You can't cut off any of that at the root. You can't cut off the branches. You have to let the entire system interweave and grow and become whole and healthy. All right. So we're not just talking. We like to juke in Jamaica. All right. We need a comprehensive civilization plan, part of which is education, and part of which is how we live. And for all the macroeconomic stability and all the complexity in the economy, we'll not have the society that we want unless we do that as well. And that's a little divert, went on tangent there, but it's important. Yeah.
All right, Chris, we have to wrap just about now, but I want to get in this last part. In the past, we used to talk about, FDI, foreign direct investment. And I'm wondering, and you're talking about moving up to the value chain. Now I take a look at Haiti. I'm not going to transfer this to a Haiti discussion, but there are lots of American companies in Haiti, right? Producing all kind of stuff, baseballs, t-shirts, all kind of stuff. But they are doing it because they have forced Haiti to keep their minimum wage, at a ridiculously low level. And they're basically exploiting the people and doing what they can. Now, these are people who, what I'm thinking about is, could we attract, well, Intel is not necessarily number one now or AMD, but could we attract a high-tech company to invest in Jamaica, which is part of the whole process of getting us moving up the value chain? Would we have the employees to provide that company with? But I'm just saying, where isn't that another route? I mean, so much money is going into high-rise apartments, lots of money. I mean, the construction industry, it seems to be booming. I don't know where the people coming from to fill it. I don't know if everybody want to turn them into B&B, but I'm saying some of this investment, is there a failure on our local private sector? Or could they be done thinking of joint ventures with international companies where some of these skills or some of these business opportunities could be done right here in Jamaica? I would start a new direction which where we could grow. I'd like to have your view on that.
All right. So let me foreign direct investment, yes. If only for scale. The size of the Barbadian economy, GDP is about 5 billion, a little over 5 billion, I believe. The Forbes list of billionaires came out today. Rihanna is on it, Barbadian national hero. Her personal net worth is over $1 billion. That's 20% of the entire Barbadian economy. Right? Jamaica's GDP at 17 billion would be middle to the lower part of the Forbes list. Now, I don't want to get too far into that because that's related to the financial economy in the US and not necessarily any particular productivity, right? In some cases. But I say that to say that there is money out there that could make an impact in Jamaica if we do it right. All right. And we've been talking about things, and we're talking about this logistics hub and all kind of things. And way back in the 60s, Disney wanted to put Disney World here out by Port Royal, and all kind of things went wrong. And they asked some people in Orlando if they could get some land in the swamp, and they got it, and the rest is history. I believe, though, that for the Digicel investment, as an example, has brought a lot of future, a lot of productivity improvements, increases to Jamaica. I'm not sure how much of that investment was left behind, but it certainly has contributed to an increase in productivity in Jamaica. So foreign direct investment, yes. Now, what is the model? By the way, $14 billion are invested in in Haiti over the last decade in foreign aid, and the country is worse off today. So it is possible to waste money. All right. Now, China developed a middle class of 300 million people by providing cheap labor and becoming the world's factory. All right, that is what they did. Now, that has run its course.
Mhm.
They did that, but there are a lot of Chinese people, right? By the way, just interestingly, and I know we don't have a lot of time, but interestingly on Haiti, when Toussaint Louverture went to France, and after you know the revolution, and France was willing to continue to buy sugarcane from Haiti, the Haitian ex-slaves said they're not going back on any plantation. And the Haitian and the sugarcane industry collapsed, and the country never ever recovered. All right. So I know there is a resistance to doing what Chinese and the Indians and the Malaysians will do. Now, let's look at Vietnam and Malaysia. They started out with this low wage thing, made the products, and then they have moved the entire entire economy up the value chain. I think Jamaica at 3 million people, which is not huge, needs to find another way. I think we can see clearly from the BPO experience that is, you know, it's benefiting somebody, but not the guy working in the BPO, right? And we need the guy working in the BPO to have the benefit. So I think based what are our skills? The best students in the universities in the United States and in UK, among the best, you'll always find Jamaicans. Regardless of the education system here, we have very talented people in the arts, in academics, and in music. We need to find a way to double down on that, leverage it, and not be ashamed of it. All right? And find another way outside of hoarding thousands of our persons into factories to work all day for minimum wage. That cannot be the answer. All right, and I would leave it at that at this point.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I think we can now. President Newton, back to you, or you can ask the person who's gonna do the thank you.
Okay.
I leave that up to you.
Okay, thank you, DP Stuart. Well, I have to say my personal thank you, Dr. Stokes, but the real official thank you will come from DP Rupert Whitaker. Oh, and by the way, to follow what PDT Ralston said, for those online who don't understand, DP means that person is a distinguished president. Is a president of the club who distinguished himself on the club in the past. So DP Rupert.
Thank you so much, Prez. I remember a teacher of mine at St. Mary High School named Dr. Dudley Stokes. And this gentleman kind of sounded like his father.
I didn't have an altar call.
But it's so good. I've been following you. I remember I lived in the States for a while myself. And I followed you gentlemen at the Winter Olympics, and I used to talk to people, and I was still proud to be a Jamaican, sir. Mm-hmm. When I heard that you came back to Jamaica and was doing your work at VM and some other places, I said, God bless you, sir.
Thank you.
We have been taken into a macroeconomic class this evening, and we just want to tell you thanks. You have been so good in explaining, especially those 4 main items that we consider in macroeconomics, which is GDP or economic growth, inflation, unemployment, and you didn't go into balance of payment. Yeah, you didn't go much into the foreign currency part of it. And but we learned so much. And when I worked at another place some years ago, I remember, many years ago, I remember we had some consultants who came from Canada, and they suggested that we got out of sugarcane, at least partially, and put in mangoes. I don't know if you remember, if you had known about that, but put in some mango orchards, and we laughed them to scorn. And they went over to Costa Rica, and Costa Rica, one orchard in Costa Rica probably produces more mangoes than we all do in Jamaica today, and they export them to Europe, to the States, and make so much money. And the reason why I brought that up is because, as you said, we really need a change in the way we think, because we can do so much. And thank you for reviving that discussion again, sir. And from where you sit, I understand that you sit in many chairs. What you should do is invite the folks to take a wider vision, because Jamaica is a great place. We have people who are scattered all over the world in the diaspora. We can leverage their ideas to come back. And I picked that up from what you were saying, especially about the education, where we need to get the best people in. And thank you for making this not your introductory economics class, but rather more an upper class. We're ready for graduation. We're ready to move forward. But the Kiwanis Club of Kingston and all our friends and other Kiwanians who are on, just thank you for coming. Keep Jamaica going, and we're proud of you. You may not be able to go back to the Winter Olympics, but we are proud of you.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, and thanks to all who listened so patiently, and you will. I'm always asked to speak on these things because I try to relate it to what people are actually going through and make it real, and
you make it so that we can
I'm not carrying any
understand
water for anybody. So hopefully you'll take it in that spirit.
One thing we ask of you, though, is to accept this special certificate that we are going to be giving to you.
Wow.
It's currently on the screen. If you think that you need more than a certificate, we invite you to become a member of the Kiwanis Club of Kingston.
Oh my
But once again, sir, on behalf of all of us, thank you so much. Thank you so much for this presentation.
Thank you very much. And Stuart, please email that to me. It's lovely. Thank you.
Okay, I will.
All right.
All right.
Thank you very much. It's late. Thank you so much for all your patience, and I hope it was worthwhile.
Was worth it.
Definitely was.
I hope one day you come back so we can speak on inequality and its effect on development.
Yes, the Gini coefficient. That's a whole nother evening.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you, DP Rupert. I must say also thanks to Dr. Blossom and Adrian for sharing Dr. Christian with us this evening, Dr. Chris with us this afternoon. And I promise you, it won't be. It's what, 3 years between now and the last time you were with us. I promise you, it won't be 3 years to the next time, sir. So thanks again.
All right. Thank you very much. God bless.
Okay, great.
All right.
Now we're gonna ask Chairman Zuri, or Sergeant at Arms, to do his thing. Chairman Zuri. Is Chairman Zuri on? All right. Since Chairman Zuri is not on, and we had such a great evening with Dr. Stokes, we will just overlook the Sarge this evening, and go to notices and announcements and interclubbing opportunities. Secretary Willie, do we have any? DLG Willie?
Wonder if he's muted.
Oh no, I see him there. I see him there actively typing, saying hello to Dr. Blossom. So I know he's on.
No, I know he's on, but I wonder if he was muted.
Okay. All right. Well, we will come back to that in case he has any. So we'll just move on now to the thoughts for the week. With DP Marcel Boyce.
I got an apology from DP Marcel, you know.
You got an apology from Marcel?
Yeah, he said he had church meeting, so he wasn't gonna be able to.
Okay. Well, guess what happened? It's now 9 o'clock, and we have had a bellyful from Dr. Stokes. So at this point, I think we are at the point where I can ask you all to raise your glasses and drink a toast to Kiwanis International, Jamaica land we love. And so at 9:02, a very fruitful meeting of the Kiwanis Club of Kingston is now terminated. Thank you all for being with us. I'm happy to see that it was so riveting. Everybody stayed with us. And remember, we're on next week, same time, Tuesday at 7 o'clock.
Yeah. President Newton. President Newton.
Hi, dear Jubilee.
I got
finished.
Yes, it's important. If you'll permit me a few minutes, let me just make the announcements, and some of them are very important.
Please go ahead, sir.
Sorry for that. I got disconnected and I was finding it difficult to get back.
Oh, we thought you were just busy speaking with Dr. Blossom.
No. Oh, in that regard, I was so happy to see Dr. Blossom immediately. We go back a long, long time.
I know.
From old Jamaican days.
Yeah.
Regarding announcements, let me just remind members, the 60th annual general meeting is going to be held on Tuesday, May the 9th, at a weekly meeting at 7 p.m. for the following purposes: to receive and consider statements of accounts for the year ended September 30, 2023, to elect officers for the administrative year 2024-25, to elect directors for the administrative year 2024-25, and to transact any other pertinent business for which due notice has been given to the members or is in conformity with club bylaws. Just a reminder to members, each active member of the club is required to be a member in good standing to vote. At the annual general meeting, a member in good standing is one who has paid all outstanding dues and any other financial obligations. Nomination may be made in advance from the floor during the annual general meeting with the consent of those nominated.
Sorry, it's Tuesday, May the 7th.
7th, yes, the 7th.
Tuesday, May 7th. Sorry, that is correct. Thanks for the correction. In terms of other notices, this Thursday evening, 6:30, we'll be having a fundraising meeting at my house to plan for the Barbie 5, which is going to be held on Friday, May 31, at the home of DP Major Richard Reese. Just a reminder, District Convention, Montego Bay, from May the 16th to the 18th. So far, 7 members of the club have registered, and I officially confirm with DST Jim Steele at ECC office that the 3 confirm the 3 delegates who are the president-elect, and immediate past president. And just to mention that this weekend, the Key Club Jamaica District will be celebrating their district convention, or the 39th annual district leadership conference at Manille Teachers College from Friday, April 5, which is the opening night, to Sunday, April 7. And so far as the club, a schedule of visit will be circulated in the meeting. Thank you very much, President. Those are announcements.
Thank you, Secretary Willie. And I also want to remind all relevant club officers that we will be having a board meeting on Monday, the 8th of April. That's Monday coming. And that we are asking if you could please submit your reports by Friday, May 5th. Remember, it's important because we are the ones charged. It's a responsibility with making sure that the club remains on track. So I'm asking you, please remember, we have the board meeting on Monday, the 8th, and we're asking that you send in your report by Friday, the 5th.
And
All right. So go ahead, PDT.
I trust that that will be followed up with a business meeting. We haven't had one for quite some time.
Thank you, PDT. We have noted that. All right. Now it's now 7 minutes past 9, and I think it's a good time for us to terminate this meeting of the Kiwanis Club of Kingston. As I said, thank you all for coming. Hope to see you again next week. When we will have another spirited evening with the Kiwanis Club of Kingston.